between the mice that were being healed and the ones that were the control mice. This is the fascinating thing, and he's come up with another theory of what he calls resonant bonding. Somehow there's communication going on another level. And I just think it's interesting, if you're interested in healing, to read this book. It's not written for scientists, it's written for ordinary people to understand. It's written by, it was written with this woman here, so it's written fairly simply. This is the Canadian name of the book. So if in Canada it's called Chasing the Cure, in America it's got a different name. And I just prefer this. This is the version that I've actually got to read. But it's incredible. It was the connection between the mice. Once there was a connection established, the healing energies just spread. You know, for me, it's a totally fascinating area that I think highlights lots of issues in the healing world. We don't really understand this connectedness thing between us. The thing with the mice is you can't talk about placebo with mice. You can't talk about placebo. But somehow, something was going on another level, and I think his work is very important for people who are interested in these things to try and understand. So I'm just pointing it out. I think I'm going to skip this now a little bit, I think. I just like this picture. This is a very, very small file. The energies are pouring onto the planet. This is just a picture, actually took place in Amsterdam, 2006, of the fact that the photographer just took one picture and then another picture, and basically there was this downpouring of celestial fire. Just because we can't see it, some people can see it, but there is this energy pouring onto the planet, and sometimes we can capture it. And I just like this picture. I would like a better quality version of this picture. And at some point I'm going to try and track down this photographer, but I don't know if I'll be successful. So this business with the celestial fire, this has been predicted, this celestial fire. There's information in the Mahabharata, if that's how you pronounce it, of at the end of an age, at the end of a yuga, there's going to be fire. And there's 200 references in this one document. But the idea here was that there was a fear as well that it could destroy the earth. So that was part of the fear. I feel that, yes, we are seeing a downpour of fire, but I don't think we are going to be destroyed. I think that there's other things that are taking place. We've been told that the grids have been shifted, and therefore there is transmutation taking place with this fire. The fire is here already. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean to say it's not here. So I just want to mention about yugas and cosmic cycles and awareness that there's shifts in consciousness. It's a cycle, and it's been explained as sort of day and night. Okay, and what I found in the last week was that there was acknowledgement that within a major cycle of what's something like 427, it's a very long cycle here, huge dates, really long cycles, it's divided into 4 parts. Within a major long cycle, there are smaller cycles. And basically, the Kali Yuga cycle started within about 12 years of the Mayan calendar start, which some analysts think is remarkably similar, just 12 years difference between the start of 2 major cycles. What I want to point out is the fact that some scholars believe that we're ending the ascending Dwapara, I don't know if I've pronounced that correctly, Yuga. They've called it the Age of Energy. I'm shocked. Okay, others believe we're entering Krita or Satyuga, the Golden Age. I think it's a mixture of both, because the title for it's like the same name is used for the long cycle and the much shorter cycle. But I'm totally amazed, because I didn't even know that this is the belief that some people had, that we're actually entering a major cycle that's the age of energy, as the energy is pouring onto the planet, absolutely pouring onto the planet. It's been predicted, and this was held in the sort of Hinduism, in the Hindu beliefs. For that was a surprise for me last week. I didn't know. And it's quite interesting. It's interesting just how many different groups have held this knowledge. Just incredible to me. And the idea, I'm not sure if Robert Cox has got this completely correct. I talk about the book, The Pillar of Celestial Fire. It's a favourite book of mine. I found it after I'd written my book. But he talks about a very very slow increase, and then this massive burst upright, the day of illumination he talks about. And he believes that this was held in the ancient text, and we are right on this cusp of a massive increase of energy. It's already happening, basically. So I just want to say that there was a belief in spiritual transformation, that we can create change through our own efforts. Or we can, there was this whole thing about the Philosopher's Stone and the white powder of gold, the Ormus elements, but also this is driven by divine intervention, a downpour of evolutionary energies from the cosmic sources. The mystery factor is very high on this, and this is where we're at now. It's being driven from outside. And I feel that that's evident. So here, I know that I'm a bit worried about the time here. I just want to point out where there seems to be real evidence that humans are changing. And I just want to talk about synesthesia. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. If there's any biologists here or neuroscientists that can correct me. But basically, let's go back. Oh dear. Basically, synesthesia comes from the Greek word syn, together, and aesthesia, sensation. It's basically where in the brain people are mixing up signals. I just want to point out that there's been a tremendous increase in the number of people reported with this condition. I don't know if you want to call it that. This all started off with a neuroscientist called Richard Synesthesia, if that's pronounced correctly. I never quite know how to pronounce that. But basically, he came across someone. He actually went to dinner with this guy who came out of the kitchen and said, the chicken doesn't have enough points on it. And he actually saw the chicken as being like an object, a geometrical object with points on it. That's how he could register whether it was cooked or not. And he just thought, this is bizarre. This guy must be like 1 in a million. But it turned out that it wasn't 1 in a million. He was estimating 1 in 25,000 had these cross signals in the brain. And now, in the 1990s, they said, it's 1 in 2,000 people. And then now they're saying there's 1 in 100 people. I haven't seen the recent statistics of this, but they're saying, maybe it's to do with awareness. People are more aware of this. But to go from, originally, Richard Synesthesia thought this was 1 in a million until he started investigating this. And now they're saying 1 in 100 people has these crossed signals in the brain. What it means is that people who see auras are no longer odd. Look at this. There's 63 different types of this. The one that interests me is this translation of emotions to smell, because I have that. I can pick up people's energy phones over the telephone. I can pick up information from websites by smell. I can get a really good feel for what's going on through the sensation of smell. And I just thought, oh, it's just one of those things, you know, everybody's a bit peculiar. It turns out I'm not peculiar at all. There's loads of people out there with this. Let me just go back to this. This is incredible. People translating days of the week into colours, people translating sensations into music, into sound, people translating... there's so many different ways. I pointed out this smell one. People like seeing here, what's this? Days of the month. They're seeing it in sort of colour format. People seeing information. They're seeing it as sort of like signals or music or a particular sound. Auras, that's not particularly that interesting. The scientists are saying maybe it's normal, people seeing auras and colours around, because it's providing you with information about someone, and it's how that information is being translated by the brain. Maybe that's normal. That's what they're thinking. It's absolutely... If you've not come across this, this is really important, because I believe that this is a sign of humans changing. Somehow, when we are taking in information, we are translating it in a different way. I find my way of detecting people's energy fields is very helpful to me. Sometimes it's a real bother, actually. It sounds really strange, but like sometimes I'm sitting on the computer and I get, what's that? And then 5 minutes later I get an email. It's just weird sometimes. One time I made an arrangement to talk to somebody on the phone. 15 minutes before we spoke, I got this really overpowering, awful smell. Overpowering. And quite frankly, there was nothing this person could say to me that would want me to work with this person. No way. I've had it before when I've been at psychic fairs, and I've had to like literally run past the stalls with the clairvoyants. I'm not saying this about all clairvoyants, but the fairs I went to in Norway were humdingers. I don't know what these people were doing. I have friends who are clairvoyants, so I'm not an anti-clairvoyant, but some of these energies, there's just no way I would get involved at all. I think it's going to make the world much more interesting. It's going to make the world much more interesting. If someone sees a colour around someone, or if they see a number, or if they see a shape that they can equate to something, it's going to make the world much more interesting. The levels of discernment are going to go up. That's what I think. And the fact that the scientists are prepared to admit 1 in 100 people already has some kind of way of translating information that we would consider to be unusual. They're now saying, it's not unusual, maybe it's normal. Maybe something is happening. It's caused, the neuroscientists love this. This is a whole area of research that they're absolutely loving. It's very, very interesting. You can go and do questionnaires. I'm sorry, I should have provided the actual name of the website, but the UK scientists are actually asking the public to respond and to do a questionnaire, because they want to know what other types, they want to sort of understand what the different things that people have. You know, some people are sort of picking up, I think of a good one, a musical sound translated to colour. I personally think this is really, really interesting. This thing with personalities and smells, that's what interests me. But some people see it in a different way. I think it's going to make the world much more interesting, and it's going to create a more honest world. If so many people can see other information that's normally hidden, and they can start to work out what it is that they're seeing, what the symbolism means, what the colour means, what the geometry means, what the smell means, it's going to make the world much more interesting. The other thing that's